Detective Ryan Carter had always relied on instincts, his own and those of his canine partner, Shadow. The German Shepherd was more than a police dog. He was Ryan's most trusted ally, his sharp nose and keen intelligence often leading them to justice when evidence alone wasn't enough. But this case would test their bond like never before. The first victim was James Holloway, a key witness in an ongoing corruption case involving high-profile figures. He was found in his apartment, throat slit, no signs of forced entry. The murder was clean, professional. Then came the second victim, Sarah Lawson, another witness. Same method. By the time a third witness was found dead, the city was in a panic. It was clear someone was eliminating people tied to the case, but there were no fingerprints, no security footage, and no clear suspects. The killer was a ghost. The police force was under pressure, and Ryan felt the weight of the investigation pressing on his shoulders. He had seen brutal crimes before, but something about this case felt personal, like the killer was always one step ahead. Then Shadow found the first real clue. The third crime scene was eerily quiet. Shadow sniffed around, his ears twitching, his movements sharp and precise. Then he stopped. A low growl rumbled in his throat. Ryan followed his gaze to a chair near the body. There was nothing there, but Shadow wouldn't budge. He sniffed the air, then the victim's clothing. "What is it, boy?" Ryan murmured. Shadow's tail stiffened. He had picked up a scent. Trusting his partner, Ryan let Shadow lead. They followed his nose through the city, past empty alleyways and darkened streets, until they reached an old warehouse on the outskirts of town. Ryan's pulse quickened. Inside, the air smelled of dust and decay. Shadow prowled through the darkness, his body tense. Then he stopped beside a metal locker, growling deeply. Ryan pulled the door open, and inside, wrapped in a blood-stained cloth, was something that made his heart stop. A torn piece of a police uniform. Ryan stared at the fabric, his mind racing. The implications were horrifying. The killer wasn't just anyone. He was one of them. Back at the station, the tension was suffocating. Ryan didn't tell anyone about the uniform piece yet. He needed more proof. Instead, he worked quietly, going over officers' files, looking for anything unusual. Shadow, however, had already sensed the truth. A few nights later, while working late, Ryan heard a sudden snarl. He looked up to see Shadow standing stiffly near the entrance, his fur bristling. His eyes were locked onto someone. Officer Grant. Ryan's breath caught. Grant was one of their best, an experienced officer, respected by all. He had worked on many high-profile cases, including this one. Shadow let out a deep, guttural growl. Ryan watched as Grant froze, his hand twitching near his belt. His usual calm demeanor cracked for just a second, and in that moment, Ryan saw it. The fear. Shadow had found their killer. Ryan forced himself to stay calm. "Grant," he said carefully, "where were you the nights of the murders?" Grant scoffed, but there was an edge to his voice. "You think I had something to do with this?" "Shadow does." Grant's eyes flickered to the dog, whose lips curled into a silent snarl. The tension in the room was razor sharp. Ryan made a choice. "Let's check your locker." The station went dead silent. Other officers turned to look. Grant hesitated, just for a second, then nodded. "Fine." They walked toward the lockers, and as Ryan opened Grant's, he felt the world shift. Inside, hidden beneath spare clothes, was a blood-stained glove and a small knife. The evidence was damning. Grant moved fast. Before Ryan could react, Grant grabbed a gun from his locker, pointing it straight at him. "Don't do this, Grant," Ryan said, his voice steady but firm. Grant's eyes darkened. "You don't understand. They would have ruined everything. The system is broken, Ryan. They were liars, criminals themselves. I only did what had to be done." Ryan's fingers tightened around his gun. That's not your choice to make. Before Grant could fire, Shadow lunged. The German Shepherd struck like lightning, his powerful jaws clamping down on Grant's arm. The gun fired, a shot ringing out, but the bullet missed as Grant crashed to the ground, struggling under Shadow's weight. Officers rushed in, pinning Grant down as Shadow backed away, his teeth bared. It was over. The next few days were a blur of interrogations and paperwork. Grant confessed to the murders, believing he was cleaning up corruption his own way. But in the end, he had become the very thing he claimed to fight against. Ryan stood outside the station that evening, staring at the city lights. The betrayal hurt. It always did. But as he looked down at Shadow sitting faithfully by his side, he felt a deep gratitude. "Good boy," he murmured, running his fingers through Shadow's fur. Shadow wagged his tail, his dark eyes filled with unwavering loyalty. No matter how dark the world became, Ryan knew one thing for sure. Shadow would never betray him, and that was all he needed.